First, I wanted to welcome Tord Boontje to give a presentation. I think now that we're talking about nature, I have to always think about the Art Nouveau movement. And for me, Tord really embodies the symbiosis of design and nature in his work. He's a magical person, and I'm very excited to hear what he's going to say. Throughout his career, he's been working often with the idea of the creative consumer and open source, as well as craft and technology. So I'm really happy to welcome Tord.
Thank you, Philippe. And also thank you very much for inviting me to speak here. Thank you, Philippe, Lee, and Petra. Can you see me okay? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, good. And it's been a fantastic day. It's been so inspiring to hear so many like-minded people joining together. And yeah, it's been fantastic. So I will start my screen sharing in a minute. I'll first want to say I'm Tord Boontje. I'm a designer. I'm an industrial designer, but also for many years, because I love making, I love crafts, I've been working with artisans from around the whole world on projects, very community-based, very much about the social side of design as well, making things. And also I've been working with recycling materials for many years. But this is also alongside working with industry and very industrial companies on kind of mass production items. I've got a studio in London, where I've also been teaching at the Royal College of Art, where I ran the design products department for many years. And it's been great seeing also so many graduates kind of involved in this, and also in your exhibition in Lille. Gives me a lot of joy. But today I will really focus on one project, which is my latest work, and it's called Do It Together. And we'll start my screen sharing here. So we go here. Is that working, Philippe?
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So Do It Together. This started on the 21st of March of this year. We moved into our new studio here in London. I share this space with Emma Wolfenden, my wife. She's a sculptor. And on 2 days late, on the 23rd of March, lockdown started. And all the projects we were working on got put on hold. So we had this time of like slowly moving into this new space, and also really thinking about what we were doing within that current situation. So really taking that moment of slowing down to reflect as well. One of the things I was thinking about is my online shop, which at that moment we were only selling 2 products, this garland light that I designed. And I thought it would be very good to kind of create new products for this shop, with the aim to be independent as designers, because if all the project cancels or put on hold, what do you do then? But the question as well is like, which products are relevant for today to design or to develop or to produce? And I kind of fell back on 2 different items that I've got a lot of experience with, which is a chair and a light. So they're also products that we really need in daily life. But like many of you, I'm also very concerned about producing things. And my concerns are mainly around sustainability. On the other hand, I really believe that if we make things that are very durable and very functional, they'll have a long life, but they even get a longer life if they're also beautiful and also a joy to live with. And then I'm in that situation in March, April, and in 2020, we see an enormous growing activity in gardening. Everybody's at home. Nobody's going out anymore. Nobody's going to work. But the weather was beautiful this spring. So gardening, and gardening is something you do with your hands, but also there was a huge uptake of sewing and making kind of crafts that you can do at home. And we also have much more time as well. And from these elements kind of coming together, I started to formulate a new approach that I titled Do It Together, which centers around this concept that we make a partly finished product which people can finish themselves, or complete themselves. And it's got two direct kind of big benefits, I believe. Having a direct involvement through the handling of materials and making, you can really build an emotional relationship with the item, and that can lead to longevity. For example, it's very different if you say this is a table that my mother made rather than a table that I bought. Yeah. Another big advantage is that we can make items for a low price. And for a low price, you still get a very elaborate, well-designed, handmade, durable object for an affordable price. So for example, with the chair that I developed, by saving costs for not lacquering it, not assembling it, we save a lot of cost on transport because it's not assembled. We can make a chair for £126. And then of course, because we only sell it through the online shop, we also not have a doubling of the price. So in the studio, I started making models with paper. This was the first model. The next slide is a bit like a story of development. I made a kind of hanging system that goes on the cable above a light bulb, and these paper elements hung around. I didn't like this, but there was something in that hanging system that I did like, the simplicity of that. Then I started working with fabric. There's still materials I had lying around at the time because I wasn't going to the shops. I started cutting out these shapes of the fabric, and with these squiggly lines, once you cut one element, one side, you automatically also cut the other element. I started experimenting with stiffening this fabric with water-based glue, but that became so complicated I didn't like that either. And this is also a way in which I work very hands-on, developing these items. Then I started working with a better material, organic cotton, and using a digital print on that, which became a very clear line for cutting. And I started to create something that I started to like. This is model 4. Model 5, I increased the arms, going from 12 arms to 18 arms, making the amount of work you have to do to cut out these elements a lot more. So what I should explain as well is that the idea is that you receive the printed fabric on a roll, and you will cut out the elements yourself to make the light. And we started thinking about the hanging system. So the first model was made, as we can see on the top, with a small wooden piece. But then on the computer, we started to design this kind of more clever structure that could hold the light together. And that's kind of where a lot of the intelligence is. So we ended up with a small component that's 3D printed in cornstarch plastic, or PLA. And it's a small technical element that performs a lot of different functions, holding it on a cable, holding all the elements separate, holding orientation. And I discovered the rotary cutters, which make it very easy to cut fabric, and a cutting mat underneath. So this was kind of the final artwork for the print. This is then digitally printed on organic cotton. And then when you cut out all the elements, you can create this light. So it's, yeah, also I think handling that material, which a lot of people are disconnected with today, gives another sensorial pleasure, which also creates that emotional relationship with the object. This is the light seen from underneath. And then this is the packaging. So we decided in the end to roll the fabric so it comes without any creases, so it's very clean to cut. It comes with a cutting mat, and then inside the red envelope you'll find the 3D printed fixing and all the arms and the instructions. So this is the front cover of the instructions, and it shows you clearly what is inside the box. So because it's something we ask the people to be involved in the making, I think the instructions, the communication of that is a very, very important part of that. And we also suggest that, yeah, you can use this organic cotton as it is, and it's a beautiful material in itself, but if you want, you can also personalize it and give it another identity. So for example, you can paint it, you can color it, you can perforate it, you can use a sewing machine to do embroidery on it. And then it shows you step 1, watch your fingers. It's got a place as well where it says the DIT light designed by Social Tord Boontje and made by, and there's a blank space where you can then write your own name. The fixing, how to place the arms, and hanging the elements, which are marked. One set is longer than the other, so the longer ones go to the middle, and then you've created this light. And the other project was a chair. This is my first model made in cardboard. This is a scale model. And in a way that goes back to my rough and ready chair from 1999, which is made of wooden sticks, some board, blankets, straps. But this chair was never sold. This was always made as an open source chair. I made these diagrams, these instructions. You can also download that on my website. And it kind of tells you how to make this chair. A chair is actually quite a difficult thing to make yourself for most people. But by giving some instructions, some help, makes it a lot easier. But with this chair, I wanted to make it even simpler to make it. So instead of screwing wood together, I decided to use bolts and wing nuts for the construction. So it's a very understandable, but also very reliable system of connecting wood. And use beech wood, which is a kind of managed, sustainable wood to use. And it's very, very hard. And it's traditional use for furniture as well. So, and it's got a great longevity, much longer than pine wood, for example. And then I started making full-size models, prototypes, again, with wood and cardboard I had lying around here. On the left is the first model. One of the criteria was that, yeah, we could sell this online, so it needs to go in a packaging that's as small as possible. So you see the back verticals on the left chair are quite long, but I'm changing the geometry slightly. They become a lot shorter. And the lower rail becomes this angular piece, which gives much more dynamic to the whole chair as well. The chair itself is shaped like a pyramid, and as you put pressure on a pyramid, it just locks in place and becomes very, very strong. So then again, these are instructions of how to, no, sorry, this is the, we then took this chair on the right-hand side and measured it very accurately to make technical drawings, again, from the computer. Where then each component is completely fully dimensioned with all the cutting angles. And it was then sent to this wood factory here in the UK, where they simply have to cut the lengths of wood and drill the holes in the right places. And then this is the first prototype that's made by the factory. So this factory, you see in the background, they're all frames for sofas. So this factory only makes frames, which normally get upholstered. So it's not a very fine woodworking workshop, but they can do exactly and precisely enough what I need for this chair. And then all the components come back here to the studio. Here's Tommy. Now it's quite hard to, when you see all these sticks, what is a front leg or a back leg? So we decided to add graphics onto the components. And we made this set of rubber stamps on the left, and on the right-hand side you see a jig. So this is like a kind of puzzle, and each piece of wood fits precisely into this puzzle, in only one way. And it tells us where we need to stamp the wood. So here's Tommy stamping, for example. We use a kind of waterproof ink for this, so it doesn't come off later. And then the graphics, they become part of the chair as well as helping you when you assemble it. But maybe when you move house later, you want to disassemble it, to package it, and then reassemble it. So it's a permanent thing as well. And you see the details of the wing nuts, which again give this character of being assembled, but also transient as well. So again, this is production in the studio for the graphics. These are all the components you need to make one chair. Yeah, so you got the seat, all the leg bits, all the fixings, and a small Allen key to make everything very, very tight at the end. And then this is the assembled final chair as it is. So it's all unpainted, but beautiful as well, the way it is. And then underneath the chair, you can see there's a piece of rubber. It's an old bicycle tire to be cut up, recycle, where you can store your Allen key after you used it. And again, there's a space where you can write your name as the maker of the chair. And here you see the packaging. So it all fits quite snugly into this box with the instructions, and then all the fixings are in this red envelope. Again, these instructions, they're printed out on A4 paper here in the studio. We just print them on a laser printer. We just only print as many as we need, so there's no waste there. And then they're bound together with a sewing machine. Again, it tells you what should be inside your box, so you can check it all. It talks about finishing the wood if you want. We made some tests and examples as well. Here we use turmeric to color the wood, brambles. And then we make some renderings as well to give examples of what the whole chair would look like if you color the whole chair. And then here you see, so this is more creative for the website, that you can get this impression, okay, this chair can take on very different characters once you start changing the colors. This is now here in the studio, painting a chair. Then the instructions show you which order you put which components together. You make first the left side and the right side of the chair. You stand them up and connect them with the horizontal bits, add the seat, and then it becomes very stable, the whole chair. Add the backrest. And then you finish by writing your name under the seat. And this is very literally making together, which is another nice part of this process, that the actual making can also be something that you actually do together as well. There's a group of students in Amsterdam. And this is the chair and the light again, that do it together. Thank you. Yeah.
Worked with so many people, artisans in different parts of the world, and now always the general public. And I guess they're just all your collaborators. Your studio is like this global studio of hands and hearts.
Yeah, I think so. But I think also by getting more people involved in the making, you also develop an understanding where things come from. They don't just appear here in our life. And I think we're actually so disconnected in our daily life of where things come from. And I think it's the same with cooking. Once you start buying the ingredients and preparing your own meals, you develop a different, well, understanding, but also appreciation of your food as well. And also, you can then also address concerns you have with your food. And I think that completely applies to whether it's clothes or furniture or products. If we can get more involvement, and that's also, I think, something sensorial that happens on a very emotional level. Once you start handling these materials, once you start handling the cotton, the metal of the fixings, the wood, you also connect back to nature. You also connect back to where these things come from. And I think that can only be positive.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for being with us.
Okay, it's a pleasure. Thank you.